your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And we will have another opportunity coming up in about 50 minutes from now. 99 bottles. Remember, we're taking qualifiers every hour of every day this week. So the final opportunity for you this week to qualify for 99 bottles. Mike Gill will have you more opportunities coming up on Monday, but we'll get 2 more qualifiers coming up in about 50 minutes from now. So when you hear the sounder, that's when you call for 99 bottles. All right, let's dig deeper into some of the items on deck right now. So let's first start with the latest Eagles injury report, because the injury report is a little surprising. There were a couple names on there that I don't think people necessarily expected. I told you guys yesterday, and everyone expected that Grant Calcaterra was not going to be available. And frankly, his absence is not the end of the world, because they do have some other guys who can play the depth at tight end behind Dallas Goedert. But the more significant players, this is now going to be the third straight game that Bradley Roby has not played due to this shoulder injury. And I know for me, I'm looking at a Cowboys team that, look, we can complain about the Cowboys all we want, okay? But the truth is that they are still the number 2 scoring offense in the NFL. They are a team that has scored in bunches at times this year. And now you're going into this game with the Cowboys without a definitive guy at nickel corner. And I know Philadelphia has figured it out for the last 3 weeks, but just because you've been able to figure it out doesn't mean you have all the answers. And whether it's Eli Ricks, Mario Goodrich, Mekhi Gardner, or a partridge in a pear tree, the reality is that you're telling me that you are going into this game really confident that whoever is filling in for Bradley Roby is going to go out there and deal with the Cowboys receivers? I know I'm certainly not. Now, it's not to say that the Eagles can't deal with Dallas, because while Dallas is the number 2 scoring offense in the NFL, they have also had trouble against teams on the road. Dallas is 2-2 on the road. So if all of Dallas's losses this year are on the road and Philadelphia is 3-0 at home this year, maybe there is something to be said for that as well. The Cowboys' 5 wins this year are against teams with a combined 14-24 record. So Dallas is vulnerable. Dallas is not some elite offense. And remember, you just had a couple weeks ago the Miami Dolphins come to Philadelphia and you took them out. So why can't you do it to Dallas? So while Bradley Roby is concerning, I don't think it's the end of the world. I do want to say we need to send some thoughts and prayers out to Boston Scott, because he has not practiced all this week for personal reasons. So we hope that he's okay, whatever's going on in his life, because, for a guy like Boston Scott, who is a gamer, is a guy who has always been available every time this team has ever asked him to show up, for him to be out, I ask everyone to, maybe give a thought and a prayer for him and keep him in mind this weekend, because for a guy like Boston Scott, who has given his blood, sweat, and tears to this organization for the last few years, for him to just not be around for personal reasons, something serious has got to be going on. So we hope everything's okay with him. The good news for the Eagles, on top of all that, is that, as I told you guys yesterday, Jalen Carter was on track to play this week. He is a full participant again at practice again, so he is good to go. I will be curious to see how Sua Opeta does this Sunday, because Sua Opeta has not practiced the whole week due to a hip issue. I'm not calling it an injury because I don't know the severity of it. But anytime I see the word hip with offensive linemen, I do get a little concerned about how that might impact their play. So it's part of the reason why Tyler Steen has gotten reps at right guard this week, because Opeta didn't practice for a couple days. How do the Eagles play out there going against a Dallas Cowboys defense that is top 5 in the NFL in total yards allowed? If Opeta's banged up, that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying I think Cowboys are going to win this game. I'm not like one of these national people who is obsessed with the Cowboys. But I'm just saying, This is not going to be the easiest game in the world. And I'll give you my full pick for the game a little bit later in the hour, but I'm just cautioning everybody that there are some things to keep an eye on for this game. On the flip side, Dallas is banged up on the offensive line. Left tackle Tyron Smith, who, by the way, has only played 21 games since 2020. The guy's constantly injured, it seems like. He is questionable for the game with a neck injury. Now, his backup is also questionable for the game on Sunday. So, Dallas is also banged up and not 100% on the offensive line. So that is something to keep in my eye on for the Eagles this Sunday when you hear the game. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll check back in on the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Sixers last night. They get the win, and I thought that last night's game, while it wasn't a great game for Tyrese Maxey, it was good to see that this team is starting to win games in a multitude of ways. They've now won 3 straight games, and they got a unique test tomorrow. Remember, yesterday was day 1 of 41. Game 1 of 41 for the Sixers. And don't ask me about the play-in tournament because I think the play-in tournament is stupid, it's frivolous, it's useless, and I'm totally confused by it. But with all that being said, the Sixers have a very interesting schedule coming up because now that they have won 3 games in a row and they've kind of found the groove, how do they handle a very talented Suns team with Kevin Durant coming in tomorrow? And then coming up next Wednesday, the Boston Celtics coming to town. Those are 2 unique tests for Philadelphia coming up. And you got the Wizards sandwich in between. So it's like difficult, moderate, difficult. I am curious to see what happens with Philadelphia when it comes to some of these games because, Philadelphia is a team right now that is not built to win a championship. They won't have the final roster until February for who they're going to go to the postseason with. So for right now, how does Philadelphia handle a team like the Phoenix Suns or next week like the Boston Celtics? And for as well as Kelly Oubre has played, and for as well as Joel Embiid has come on in recent games, and for as efficient as Tobias Harris has been recently, it doesn't mean that this team is going to win the same way every time. And I am enjoying the fact that this team has found multitude of different ways to win games. I think that's a positive for them. I think it's a testament to a guy like Nick Nurse's coaching. I think Nick Nurse has shown an ability to go out there and, maximize the players that he has and get them on the court in the best way possible. I think it's a huge positive for this Philadelphia team. And even though Maxey had a down game yesterday, I'm not down on Maxey. I'm going to ride that train. I am not jumping off the train after 1 game. I still think Maxey has a ton of potential, and I think he is only going to get better as the year goes along. And for me, I think that this Philadelphia team has an opportunity to make some noise in the regular season and win some games. And we'll see what happens tomorrow when they play the Suns again. You hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Over on the DMs, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, LTD chimes in and says, Kelly Oubre is the steal of the offseason. It looks like he's playing free and having fun. Josh, do you think it's because he doesn't have any pressure on him with a minimum 1-year contract? Also, I'm looking forward to the Suns game tomorrow. Here's the thing. I think the reason why Oubre is playing well is because he's playing for Nick Nurse. I know that sounds very hyper simple, but hear me out for a second. Nick Nurse is the guy who has maximized every wing player he has touched. Kawhi Leonard won a championship and had his last great year with Nick Nurse in Toronto. Nick Nurse evolved Pascal Siakam into a perennial all-star. He got the most out of guys like Chris Boucher and OG Anunoby, and Fred VanVleet. Like, he made these guys into who they are today. Like, those guys are commodities because of Nick Nurse. So I think a huge part of this is you have a coach who knows how to put players in a position to be successful, and that's why Oubre has been successful. It's not a negative against Oubre. I think he does have plenty of talent. But you go through Kelly Oubre's career and you realize that Oubre is a guy who has been a streaky player throughout his career. He has never been very consistent. And at 28 years old, he looks like he is playing the best basketball of his career right now. I think it's because he's playing for a coach who knows how to put him in a position to be successful. Look, before this year, when he was playing in Charlotte the last couple of years, he was playing very well. He was playing very well for a bad basketball team. It's easy to be the guy who puts up a ton of shots and score points on a bad basketball team. You know, being one of the best players on a bad basketball team doesn't mean that you're great. It just means that you're better than everybody else. So for me, I look at Oubre as a guy who he played in Charlotte with a team that just wasn't very good. And now he comes to Philadelphia to a team that he is one of the lesser players on that team. Look, when Oubre played in Golden State a couple of years ago, that was not the Golden State that we're used to. That was not the elite Golden State Warriors of past years. That was a Golden State team that was, having guys coming back from injuries. So Oubre has not been in a lot of circumstances where he has had to look around and say, look, all these players are better than me. He has spent most of his career being one of those better players. And so this is only the second time in his career, second year in his career, that he has legitimately not been the first or the second or the third best or even the fourth best players are arguably on a team. So I think he's able to flourish as well because there's not a lot of pressure on him in general because let's be realistic. When you look at a team like Charlotte and you realize that the best player on that team, when LiAngelo Ball went down, was Terry Rozier. Of course, Kelly Oubre is going to go out there and score 20 points a game, but he didn't do it efficiently. He was shooting almost 32% from three last year. See, when you don't ask Oubre to chuck the ball up 20 million times, he actually has a chance to be an efficient player. Right now for the Sixers, he's only averaging 5 threes a game, whereas last 2 years in Charlotte, he was averaging over 7 threes a game. So I think that's a huge part of this as well. Over on the text board, 609-403-0973. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. This is Josh Salpow pointed out earlier on the Sports Bash, the turnover differential. I really think the Eagles need to take care of the ball on Sunday. I mean, taking care of the ball in general is a principle that every team should follow. I don't think that is unique to this game necessarily, Jeff, but I think what Sal Powell's larger point was, when I was listening to Sal earlier talk to Mike Gill, was that, Sal has talked about this multiple times on the Sports Bash, on 97.3 ESPN. When Sal Paolantonio comes on, he has said multiple times, look, his history shows us that statistically, being a high turnover team does not win championships. You are not going to be in a position to win a championship if you are the team that constantly turns the ball over. So, you can win regular season games and still turn the ball over, but you're not winning postseason games when everything gets tougher and more tight. I think that's the larger point. The larger point is that Philadelphia has to get out of the bad habits that have made them a high turnover team this year if they're going to have a successful championship run for the duration of the rest of this regular season and the postseason. We'll get back to the text board a little bit later this hour, 609-403-0973. Also, I'll give you my thoughts on the college football weekend, the NFL Sunday as well. But coming up right now, we're going to go to a break and we're going to hear from Gino Toretto, the 1992 Heisman Trophy winner. He was joining us to talk about college football this weekend and Bedlam Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, which you can hear right here on 97.3 ESPN tomorrow after Sixers basketball.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoruk calling all the play-by-play action.
He scores! Just don't quit by the Flyers.
The Flyers are in Buffalo to face the Sabres. Tonight, coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Vincenzo's Ristorante in Galloway for just $25.
This great deal is on sale now at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. When my daughter gets a cold, I have a secret weapon. Dayquil Kids Berry from Vicks. Dayquil Kids is specially formulated to treat kids' most bothersome cold and cough symptoms quickly. And the best part is that Dayquil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed to be resting? Maybe.
Dayquil Kids Berry. The Kids Berrylicious daytime congestion, coughing, stuffy head, stuffy nose, just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6 years plus.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
She's running around. Her breath doesn't smell. Her digestive system is perfect. It has made such a huge difference.
What did this dog parent do for their dog? She switched to Nature's Blend, a premium freeze-dried raw dog food made by Dr. Marty Goldstein, a veterinarian Forbes magazine called the Miracle Worker. It's the easiest way to support your dog's easy digestion, nourished skin, playful energy, and most importantly, their healthy, full life.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free full-sized bag of Tilly's Treasures dog treats. They're best-selling beef liver dog treats while supplies last. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or shop in over 2,000 stores nationwide. Use the store locator to find the store closest to you. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available upon request.
Hey, Josh Hennick here to tell you about how Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has helped your favorite football team. Did you know that over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated seat that football players sit on today? Yes, the Jenkins family created a way for football players to weather the extreme cold. Now imagine what Jenkins can do for your home. Call Jenkins for plumbing, drain cleaning, and leak repairs, gas furnace, boiler, and hot water heater replacements. Call Jenkins today at 609-641-6262, online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Save on stuff you really need and stuff you bought for fun. Stuff you always really wanted this holiday at Amazon. Stuff that is discounted if you're naughty or you're nice. Stuff to buy your grandma who drinks her Chardonnay with ice. Stuff to make you big and strong. Stuff we can't name in this song. Stuff for lawns and decking halls. Save big on stuff at Amazon. Stop.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Discover, this is Daniela.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Do you like asparagus and mushroom sorbet? I've got leftovers.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Stand-up comedian and podcaster Tim Dillon takes the stage at Ovation Hall in Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on Saturday, May 25th. Known for his podcast, The Tim Dillon Show, and Tim Dillon's Real New York Tour, his unique brand of cultural commentary and satire has made him one of the nation's top comedic voices. Don't miss the hilarious Tim Dillon in Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City on Saturday, May 25th. Tickets on sale now at theoceanac.com. That's theoceanac.com.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. And Bedlam is back potentially for the final year. Well, tomorrow, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. You could hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. The last year before Oklahoma leaves for the SEC. And the man is going to be on the call tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 here on 97.3 ESPN. Gino Toretta from the Touchdown Radio Network. You remember him from last year. Of course, the Heisman Trophy winner with the University of Miami. Gino, welcome back. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So before we get specifically to Bedlam, I got to get your perspective on this because, you know, when you played college football, it was all this conference realignment was not going on. And you know, for you, when you look at the fact that Oklahoma is potentially not just leaving the conference, but leaving one of the more historic rivalries in all of college football behind after this year, I mean, it's just a weird sensation for a fan like me. What is it like for someone like you?
Well, I would say you know, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I made a decision to not go to a Pac-12 or a Pac-10 school at the time, and I came to Miami, and I left the West Coast. But you know, the sad part is with this realignment, it's almost like they've rendered college athletics on the West Coast irrelevant. I mean, if you wanted to stay home, you know, if a kid right there in your area wanted to stay home and play at Rutgers, but now all of a sudden, instead of playing schools around, you know, Rutgers, Penn State, and things that his family and friends could travel to, now he's got to go, you know, obviously to USC and UCLA and all that. And it's really sad of what they've done. I think that, you know, there's got to be some. I know college football is a national sport and people love it nationally. It's growing in popularity like the NFL, but you still have to keep some regionality because, you know, one of the best parts about college athletics is you have a tie to the university you go to if you're a normal student.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, Cal and Stanford are coming into the ACC. I mean, you know, this is a budding rivalry, Miami and Cal, Miami and Stanford. I mean, you know, come on. I mean, it would have been great, I guess, when I was in school because then I could have gone home a couple of times and played in front of my family and friends. But, yeah, I think somebody at some point in time is going to have to step in and try to, you know, I don't know how they're going to do it, but keep those regional, you know, the Midwest, the Big 10, the Big 12, you know, the Pac-12, however they figure it out. But you know as well as I do, it's going to be about splitting up a lot of money. And, you know, the SEC and the Big 10 got the most right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of money that's being divided up. Let's dig deeper into Oklahoma State, because like I said before, this is a huge rivalry. And you mentioned about the regional element that it is for someone going to a university. You know, this game is going to be in Stillwater. It's going to be at Oklahoma State. So I got to believe for this game, Gino, you're going to be walking in to an insane crowd.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, you know, normally I buy 4 tickets, you know, for friends or buddies that are, you know, coming to the game. And they're like, this is the first game. I mean, I've been broadcasting games 25 years. The first game, they're like, we don't have any. And I'm like, the university doesn't have any seats.
None.
Thing,
They have none.
Absolutely zero. And I go back to, God, it was years ago, and Oklahoma was the dominant. They were on their roll of playing for, it seemed like a playoff national championship every single year. And I did this at the end of the year, and it was freezing cold. Well, Oklahoma State at that point in time, and I can't remember what year it was, maybe 10 years ago, they said, we are not going to sell single game tickets to Bedlam. So 20% of the stadium was empty. You had to literally sign up for season tickets. And there was Oklahoma fans signing up for season tickets that week of the game so they could buy one ticket and just go to that game. So, it's a great rivalry. I mean, these schools obviously, don't like each other at all. Relatively close, about 2 hours away from each other. Oklahoma's obviously probably had more success than Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma's reeling off a loss last week to Kansas. Oklahoma State's kind of on a roll. They got a stud running back who, Ollie Gordon II. He's done something when only Barry Sanders have done. I think that you got to take notice. He's got two games in a row where he's 250 plus yards rushing. So I think this is going to be a heck of a game. Besides the added element of it is the last Bedlam, and in no foreseeable future are they going to play again.
You mentioned Ollie Gordon. We got to talk about him for a minute because this young man is only a sophomore, Gino, and he's already putting up the kind of numbers that are making people do a double take. When you see a young guy, I mean, you mentioned Barry Sanders. I remember Thurman Thomas with Oklahoma State back in the day. Like, Oklahoma State does have a good history of running backs. What do you think this Ollie Gordon can be? Because like I said, he's only a sophomore. How much better can he get?
Well, what I see is I see a tall back, and when you first watch him, if you're old enough to remember, I thought of Eric Dickerson immediately because of size. They line him up out of the backfield. He runs routes. He's got great hands, great balance for being over 6 feet tall. He gets low, has acceleration and speed. So I think, the key for him, I think getting better as most running backs and stars in college, you work on blitz protection and those sorts of things, but he's very impressive when you watch him, and it's just like his size, athleticism, and balance, and the backs. Most backs aren't as tall. Marcus Allen, Dickerson, those guys are 6'2". But this guy, he's right up there with them in size and stature when you first watch him.
We're talking with Gino Toretta. Of course, he covers the game tomorrow at 3:30, Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State with a Touchdown Radio Network. Gino Toretta, of course, the second Miami quarterback to ever win the Heisman Trophy when he was at the University of Miami. Gino, a quarterback on the other side is Dillon Gabriel. This kid is a phenomenal quarterback, but that game against Kansas last week didn't look too good for Oklahoma. What do you think Dillon Gabriel is, and what do you expect from him in this game tomorrow?
Well, I think he's more of a weapon running. And I think the Kansas game, it was just, kind of crazy weather. You go through, you start the game, it looked like it's below freezing. Then it starts misting. It's cold. It wouldn't quite cold enough to snow. And, he gets pick sixed in the first, on the second play of the game. And kind of they battle back. And I think that, the one thing is, their defense kind of didn't hold up against Kansas. But I think that, as long as they can stay balanced, they don't get behind the chains and force him to throw it. Now, he's an accomplished passer. He's got, 10+ thousand yards passing in college. So he can throw it when he needs to. But I think, his size and his real strength is his athleticism in that RPO game and keeping the ball on the ground and really not turning it over. I mean, that's kind of Captain Obvious comment, I guess. Don't turn the ball over and you're going to be pretty good in any football.
Gino, with that being said, I've heard people say that Dillon Gabriel is great when the field is spread out, that he is someone who he excels when he has, the entire defense spread out in front of him. Is that something that you think is a byproduct of him as a quarterback, or do you think it's a byproduct of the Oklahoma offense?
Well, I think it's the Oklahoma offense. I mean, I think that probably Art Briles made that type of offense, the most successful and famous with RG3 at Baylor, and you see similar things that Tennessee does with Heupel, where they just spread the field, and they force the defense. Either you're going to cover these guys, receivers down, or you're going to try to stay in the box and stop the run. And when you spread that, the defense is caught. They have to pick one or the other. And then these coaches with signals and stolen signals, if you will, they send it into the quarterback last minute. Hey, just run or pass. And I think that's where, like I said, when they spread the field, if the other team, if Oklahoma State decides, okay, we're going to stop the pass first, then Gabriel's going to keep it on the ground. But I don't think, based on what I see on tape and watching Oklahoma, good offensive line, they got a good running game. Gabriel more of a threat in the run game. I would say one safety and stop the run first. And if he beats you with his arm, which he can, then I guess that would be the harder thing for Oklahoma to do is beat you with the arm than the legs.
Oklahoma State has scored 39 or more points in their last 3 games. Oklahoma has scored 30 or more points in their last 4 games. So do you anticipate this to be a high-scoring shootout with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter?
It's still the Big 12, isn't it? Defense is optional.
That is true.
I think Venables said last week, he goes, well, if we can tackle the second half, we should be okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much every team across the country. So I think that, yes, it is a matter of which one of these defenses can get off the field. Can Oklahoma shut down, Ollie Gordon, and vice versa is can Oklahoma State shut down Gabriel and that Oklahoma offense.
We're talking with 1992 Heisman Trophy winner Gina Toretta here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN. Bedlam versus Oklahoma State tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 3:30. Gino, you mentioned about the Big 12. Obviously, they're one of the conferences going through a bit of a transformation. For you, when you look at the state of the Big 12, what are your thoughts? Because with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, but you got these new schools coming in, your BYUs and such. What is your perspective on the state of the Big 12 moving forward?
I think it's a very competitive conference. I think it's still going to be, it's still going to be a wide open offense. And I think that, it's disappointing, obviously, the two kind of bellwethers. I think Oklahoma, was it 14-year existence, Oklahoma has won the conference, I think, 10 plus times. So they have carried or dominated the Big 12 conference, and then Texas is leaving with them. So those are the kind of the two brand names. But I think that there is still great football played in the Big 12. I just think that, as we talk about this realignment and what's going to happen, if they're going to go to some kind of model that looks like a basketball playoff and a Final Four where 68 teams are in their own division and we have regions, there are definitely good ball played in the Big 12.
Gino, on the surface, I wouldn't mind there being more regionalization of college football, but I got to ask you, how can you expand a playoff and it still be a legitimate playoff? Because it's not like in basketball that you do see, like, the 12 win some of those games in March Madness, but in college football, very rarely is like, just to use an example, like I don't foresee Oklahoma State, beating an Ohio State in a playoff game.
Well, I would say this. I'm not saying expand the number of teams. So they're going to 12. I think obviously 12 is plenty. And then I would get rid of conference championship games. You play your regular season. The last game, if you're in one of those 12, you get a home game, or the higher ranked team would be a home game. That would be a playoff. Then incorporate the bowls, and then have the playoff kind of like what they've done. I think to me is, you have an opportunity. Maybe the 12th ranked team can't win a national championship and go through multiple games against other teams in the top 12, but maybe that 12th ranked team can beat somebody in week 1. And then all of a sudden you get an injury, you get a costly mistake by the higher ranked team. and then it's chaos. It's why you watch the Final Four in the basketball tournament. Why is 18 beating number 1? I mean, that it can happen. Now, is 18 going to win the national championship? Maybe not. But, I think that it keeps more teams in it. I just think for the regionalization part, if you put in, let's say you have Division I football, instead of it being 130 teams, I believe it is now, it was 106 when I was in school, maybe it's 65, and they break off from the NC2A or whatever, but you have a college football West Coast, you have a college football, Midwest, which would be kind of Big Ten, college football Southwest, Big 12, college football East Coast or Atlantic Coast, where you have some kind of combination, the SEC. And then you have scheduling where, yes, you would play the West Coast from the East Coast and Big Ten. They kind of schedule just like the NFL does. And then at the end of the year, whoever has the best record, those are in the final 12. And if not having, as well as I do, every year when we talk about games, the first 3 games, it's like a preseason. Well, you don't want to watch preseason in the NFL. You don't want to watch preseason in college.
Right.
I don't want to see, Oklahoma against a team that has no chance of beating them in week 1. Now, do I want to see Oklahoma play Alabama in the, Chick-fil-A Classic? Hell yeah, I want to watch that. And that's where I just think that, if we get to that, and I'm not sure how it's going to happen or if it can, that's a model, I think, all fans, because then you would keep your regional rivalries. You would keep Bedlam. You would keep, Florida, Georgia. You would keep USC and Cal. You would keep those rivalries, going. And then also you still have the national flavor of, hey, the Midwest or Big Ten's doing well, this year, or this year, the Pac-12 is doing great. So that's where I just think that, not necessarily expanding the number of teams at the playoff at the end, but basically having a number of teams where, okay, these people are schools are same resources. They can compete for a national championship if they get the right coach, they get the right players, they catch lightning in a bottle with the transfer portal, all those sorts of things.
Gino, it makes too much sense. That's why it won't happen,
Exactly. Well, yeah, there should be a commissioner of college football. I mean, or a commissioner of common sense. If common sense was so common, it wouldn't be called common sense.
Exactly.
Right? But that's where, there needs to be a commissioner of college football. And the NC2A hasn't stepped up. The transfer portal, this NIL thing is a mess. They have not dealt with it. They're trying to go to Congress and the Senate now. And if they just meet this stuff head on, deal with it. I mean, the Big Ten won't deal with, a school that's been caught cheating. It's just like you kind of head scratch and go, well, don't we play by the rules here?
Right. We're supposed to. Gino, before I let you go, I want to ask you, because you are the 1992 Heisman Trophy winner. It's Heisman season. People are talking about who should be the Heisman front runners. Michael Penix Jr., he's having a great year. Jaden Daniels, LSU, he's having a phenomenal season. Who are the guys that you're keeping an eye on over the next few weeks to see who separates themselves?
Well, I think the great thing about this year is there's a bunch of players that are in it. And if they're in it, you mentioned their name, they can win it. I think, you mentioned Penix. He's got some big games coming up out of Washington. Daniels is playing Alabama this week from LSU. Guys having just unbelievable stats, and their defense is atrocious at, out there. Is Marvin Harrison is going to get enough catches? I mean, the kid's unbelievable. I mean, disappointed that, Brock Bowers at Georgia got hurt. I thought he was in the mix. Travis at Florida State, they play Miami next week. There are marquee matchups for probably about 10 guys. Even McCarthy at Michigan, but is he going to get hurt by, knowing the defenses before they actually, run the plays?
Right.
I think that's the best part. I think this college football season, where we're at right now, there's a bunch of teams that are in it to make the playoffs. And there's a bunch of players that have played themselves to be in the conversation right now for the Heisman. And if they're in that conversation, they can go and win it. You can go win the trophy in November. You can't win it in September and October, but you can win it in November, especially as we get to, some of these conference rivalry games.
He's Gina Toretto. He'll be on the call tomorrow for potentially is the final bedlam. We'll find out tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN Oklahoma. Oklahoma State coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Gino, appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the game tomorrow. I'm sure you're going to need to turn up your headset because it'll be loud there in Stillwater.
Appreciate it, Josh.
Josh Hennick here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Always good to talk to Gina Toretto, the 1992 Heisman Trophy winner. All right, so it's coming up. We're going to get back to the text board. I see Tom from Margate chiming in on the text board. We'll get to his texts and more. 609-403-0973. And in about 12 minutes from now, your final opportunity today to qualify for 99 bottles. When you hear the sounder, that's when we tell you to call here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, I'll give you my football thoughts and picks and previews for the weekend and my final keys to the game for the Eagles this Sunday versus the Cowboys. And of course, you hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN.
Listen every Saturday for the nation's top college football action on 97.3 ESPN.
This Saturday, it's Bedlam on Touchdown Radio. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State for the Big 12 Conference lead. Join Brett Dolan and me, Gino Toretta, for a shootout in Stillwater this Saturday on this Touchdown Radio station.
It's College Football Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins after Sixers basketball.
It's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Here's a winner, fall football, and Chickies and Pete's mouth-watering snow crab legs. For a limited time, buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday. Enjoy the sweet, delicate flavor of snowy white crab meat dressed in our special blend of seasonings and spices. Pair it with an ice-cold draft beer or one of our signature cocktails. Buy one and get one free snow crab legs every Tuesday and Wednesday for a limited time. Restrictions apply. Chickies and Pete's.
She's running around. Her breath doesn't smell. Her digestive system is perfect. It has made such a huge difference.
What did this dog parent do for their dog? She switched to Nature's Blend, a premium freeze-dried raw dog food made by Dr. Marty Goldstein, a veterinarian Forbes magazine called the Miracle Worker. It's the easiest way to support your dog's easy digestion, nourished skin, playful energy, and most importantly, their healthy, full life.
I'm so confident your dog will love it. Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free full-sized bag of Tilly's Treasures dog treats. They're best-selling beef liver dog treats while supplies last. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or shop in over 2,000 stores nationwide. Use the store locator to find the store closest to you. All pets are unique. Your pet's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply. Studies available upon request.
Save on stuff you really need and stuff you bought for fun. Stuff you always really wanted this holiday at Amazon. Stuff that is discounted if you're naughty or you're nice. Stuff to buy your grandma who drinks her Chardonnay with ice. Stuff to make you big and strong. Stuff we can name in this song. Stuff for lawns and decking halls. Save big on stuff at Amazon. Stuff.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, Birds fans, it's about that time. Football season is back, and Boardwalk Honda is giving you the chance to score big. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long. Shop our lineup of new pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas. We have something for everyone, and credit problems are no problem with over 25 financial lenders to get you approved and on the road to victory. Visit us in Egg Harbor Township or online at boardwalkhonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants to polos and khakis to Oxfords or t-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Something good to know from First Bank of Sea Isle City. We have all of today's innovative banking products just like the big banks, but we offer something they can't. A personal community focus. Let's get you started with Bill Pay. You save time when you pay your bills online. It's fast, easy, and convenient. First Bank of Sea Isle City, a community bank that delivers more for you every day. Personal service, today's technology, from the people who truly care. Learn more at firstbankseaisle.com.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Go to get your game on at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort this football season. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery. Go to Ocean. Go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Don't forget, coming up in about 10 minutes from now, we'll get to Flyers hockey. Flyers look to break their 3-game losing streak against the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoruk on the call coming up in about 10 minutes from now here on 97.3 ESPN. And then the sounder will go off in about 5 minutes for today's for the final qualifiers of today for 99 bottles. So, all right, I promise to get to the text board before I get to anything else. So let's get to you guys out there. Also your DMs on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Tom and Margate chimed in and says, hey, Josh, nice points about Nick Nurse and good basketball players on bad teams. Nurse reminds me of Dr. Jack Ramsey and also Jack Kraft, who was a great Big Five coach, who had the very best out of average ball players. It's Eagles Dallas week. Go Birds. Happy TGIF Fridays from Tom and Margate. He also did, Tom Margate, enjoyed my conversation with Gina Toretta, which was very cool. Thank you for complimenting that, Tom. Yeah, I think that the reason why I think a lot of people get frustrated with NBA coaches is that the NBA coach is not in the job they have because they always bring out the best in players. It's because a lot of NBA coaches have success because they're great relationship people and they're great at putting players in a position to be successful. And so, being a college coach, it's a lot easier to be the coach who brings out the most in guys. And I think Nick Nurse has kind of found that in between what a college coach does, what a pro coach can do. And I think that that's part of the reason why, at least for me, I look at a guy like Nurse and I have so much respect for the guys like him and Eric Spoelstra because they do a little of both. They're great at getting the most out of average players, and they're also great at having those relationships with star players to help them be the best they can be. So it's a two sides of a coin when it comes to coaching, that it's hard to find a coach who's truly able to balance both. All right, so Eagles this Sunday versus the Dallas Cowboys. Pre-game coverage begins at 3 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN, home for Eagles football in South Jersey. I think this game is going to be low scoring. I don't think this is going to be a crazy shootout because I think that these two defenses are actually pretty good. I don't look at the Eagles as the team that gave up 31 points to Washington. I look at the Eagles as the team that has only given up 30 points or more twice this year, and that's against Washington. The Eagles defense outside of Washington and the Vikings has not allowed more than 20 points to anyone else this year. And considering that the Cowboys are also top 5 in the NFL in total yards allowed, I think this is going to be a close game. I think it favors the Eagles. The Eagles are built to win an ugly game. I made the example earlier today on the Sports Bash about how if you're someone who knows boxing history, right? You know that the Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward fights were absolute wars. I mean, they were in real life Rocky movie fights. And it was usually the guy that had the best endurance, that had the most willpower, that had the most desire to win, usually won those fights. And I think that the Eagles are a team that has more willpower, that has more desire. And I think that is why I think the Eagles are going to win this game. One of my picks this week is under 47 for the Eagles game this week. I think this is an Eagles game where they win it something like, a 24-20, a 23-17 kind of game where it's not going to be pretty, but Philadelphia gets the win in Philadelphia against the Cowboys team that has struggled and been inconsistent on the road this year. Again, the Cowboys are 2-2 on the road this season. Philadelphia 3-0 at home. A couple more picks for the weekend. Let's give you, first and foremost, my
Stone Cold Lock of the Century. On the way.
I've won 5 straight of these, so let's try to keep it rolling. Utah at home, minus 11.5 against Arizona State. Arizona State is not a good football team. They're banned from the bowl season, so they have nothing to play for. Utah has everything to play for in this game, and Utah is a really, really good home team. I think Utah wins by 2 touchdowns, and that's why they're my
Stone Cold Lock of the Century. On the way.
I'm also 5-0. Sorry, I'm 4-1 in the 5 games I have done Utah picks with this year. I also like Oklahoma State to cover the 6 against Oklahoma. I wouldn't surprise to win outright tomorrow in Bedlam. This is a huge rivalry game. Oklahoma wants to send Oklahoma packing. All right, you heard the sounder. You know what that means. It is time for you to call 609-573-3776. 609-609-573-3776. Caller 6 and caller 7. You will be the next qualifiers for 99 bottles. The party will be at the Anchorage Tavern in Summers Point. You must be present to win the day before Thanksgiving when Mike Gill and the Sports Bash will be broadcasting live from 2 to 6 p.m. There's all qualifiers to be in attendance by 5 p.m. that day. Caller 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. You are in for this year's 99 bottles party. I'm Josh Hennig. Thank you for listening to Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'll talk to you again Sunday morning with Billy Schwein.
This Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, former Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Dave Klemick, and producer Nick Earnshaw join me in the studio as we get you ready for the Eagles-Cowboys game and play my interviews with a few inductees to the class of 2023 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Hour 2, we'll hear from the sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan live from Las Vegas with his insight on this weekend's action. Plus, Mike Doktorovitz, who writes a column for my website. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.